What's up, everybody? What's going on? If you're watching this video, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and thank you for watching. If I didn't have followers on Twitter and a lot of good people, a lot of friends that I follow on Twitter and talk to, if I didn't have you guys watching these videos, I'm sure they would have 0 views. So thanks for watching, if you are watching. And if you're on Twitter and you know me on Twitter, thanks for watching. This is the Year in Wrestling 1995 Part 2. I'll be talking about WCW's Uncensored, Slamboree, and Great American Bash 95. And I'll also talk about WWF, the first ever In Your House 1 pay-per-view. But first I'm going to start talking about some news items that happened in 1995. April 7th. I'm going to start it off with talking about April 7th, 1995. NWA champion Dan the Beast Severn wins the Ultimate Fighting Championship 5 in North Carolina, in Charlotte. UFC 5 pay-per-view event. I own it on DVD. It's a pretty damn good show. Old school UFC, when they had no rules, no regulations, they had no weight limits, no different weight classes, no different divisions. This was old school, like straight up barroom brawling in the octagon. And this was UFC 5, as I said. Dan Severn came to WWF during the Attitude Era. If you just heard me belch, I apologize, but I got a burp. It's something every human does. So if I do belch during these videos, I apologize. But everybody does it. I'm not going to hold a belch in. If I got a belch really bad, I'm not going to hold it in. So, sorry. But that's just me. What the hell was I saying? Dan Severn was in the Attitude Era. Came into WWF late 97. Was there in 98 for a little while until the summer 98, and then he disappeared. I think he had a 3-year contract, but WWF stopped using him. And he was a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion before he signed with the WWF during the Attitude Era. So Dan Severn wins Ultimate Fighting Championship number 5. In a couple days, we're going to have UFC 190. In 95, UFC was only up to number 5. Now they're up to 190. That's pretty damn impressive. That was April 7th, 95, as I said. Dan Severn won UFC 5, the tournament. April 28th, 95, Fred Blassie, the legendary manager, suffers a heart attack that results in triple bypass heart surgery. On May 3rd, the former wrestler and manager makes a full recovery. April 28th, 95, approximately 150,000 fans attend a New Japan Pro Wrestling event in Korea. And it was an attendance setting. They set an attendance record that stands for one day, as nearly 190 fans attended the second day of wrestling at the Korea Cultural Festival. April 28th and April 29th, New Japan Pro Wrestling draws 320,000 fans over 2 nights to shatter the wrestling attendance record that they set. In Korea and Japan and wherever they go. New Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan and wherever else they go. They are a powerhouse of a company. They're a big company. They've set a lot of records, and the fans in Japan are great wrestling fans. They don't like storylines that much unless they're into watching WWE. I don't know. I know they're into watching WWE, but I'm sure the fans prefer New Japan Pro Wrestling over the WWE. And they look at New Japan Pro Wrestling as the #1 company around. So that's damn impressive to draw that many people in 2 or 3 nights. I also believe one of those Korea shows that New Japan Pro Wrestling had, they used Ric Flair from WCW. New Japan Pro Wrestling and WCW had a relationship. They would exchange talent a lot. So Ric Flair went over there and wrestled against Inoki in front of a record-setting crowd in '95. And that's all the news items I got for now. Now I'm going to talk about WWF In Your House #1, which took place in May 14th, '95. In Your House took place from Syracuse, New York. First match, Bret Hart competed on In Your House, won twice. Bret Hart, in the first match, wrestled Hakushi and defeated Hakushi in 14 minutes, 22 seconds. It was a pretty damn good match. Check it out. It's on the network, if you have the network. Razor Ramon defeated Jeff Jarrett and the Roadie in a handicap match. Mabel defeated Adam Bomb in 1 minute, 51 seconds. That should have not been on pay-per-view. In a King of the Ring, that was Mabel beating Adam Bomb, was in a King of the Ring qualifying match. World Tag Team Champions Owen Hart and Yokozuna defeated the Smoking Guns to retain the tag titles. That match only went 5 minutes, 47 seconds. Very short. I don't know why, but it was. Bret Hart, in his competing in his second match, took on Jerry the King Lawler. They start feuding again in '95. And Jerry Lawler defeated Bret Hart when Hakushi interfered. And that match was only 5 minutes and 1 second. I don't know why they put Bret Hart in a feud with Jerry Lawler again in '95. It was pretty stupid. And Bret Hart was in his prime. Bret Hart deserved better than being in a feud with Jerry the King Lawler in '95. But obviously, they didn't want Bret to win the title yet and go after the title. So they put him in a feud, in a mid-card feud with Jerry the King Lawler. And they had a match at In Your House, which I just talked about. And they also had a match at King of the Ring, Kiss My Foot match. That was just absolutely ridiculous and stupid to put on. But they did. And later on in '95, Bret Hart would win the title back from Diesel. Not back from him, but he'd defeat Diesel and become the champion again. I'm not saying Diesel defeated Bret Hart the first time for the title, because he did not. He defeated Bob Backlund in like 10 seconds. The main event of In Your House 1 was World Champion Diesel defending against Psycho Sid. Diesel wins by disqualification in 11 minutes, 29 seconds. It was an okay match between two big men. It was just okay. And In Your House 1 was an okay pay-per-view. It wasn't that good. It was just okay. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Slamboree, which happened about a week later. WCW Slamboree was a week after the first In Your House. So you had 2 pay-per-views in 1 month for maybe one of the first times. I'm probably wrong about that, but who knows. May 21st, 95 was WCW Slamboree from St. Petersburg, Florida. First matchup was the Nasty Boys defeated the World Tag Team Champions Harlem Heat to win the tag team titles. It was a decent tag match and it was entertaining. Up next, Kevin Sullivan defeated Brutus Beefcake. I don't know what the hell they were calling Brutus. I don't know what gimmick he had. He may have been called the Butcher or the Man with no name. I don't know what the fuck Beefcake was called, and I don't care what he was called or what the hell his gimmick was. I just don't care. Pointless, stupid match. I do not care at all for Kevin Sullivan versus Beefcake. Wahoo McDaniel in a Legends match. This was still called Slamboree, a Legends reunion. Wahoo McDaniels defeated Dick Murdoch in a Legends match. IWGP Heavyweight Champion, the Great Muta, defeated Paul Orndorff in 14 minutes, 10 seconds. That was a great match. Very entertaining. I don't remember if it was a great match, but with those two guys in it, I'm sure it was good. Arn Anderson, television champion Arn Anderson, defeated Alex Wright to retain a TV title. Road Warrior Hawk and Meng wrestled to a double countout. Sting defeated Big Bubba Rogers by submission in a lights out match. And the main event was Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage defeating the returning, reinstated to WCW Ric Flair and Vader. So Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man teaming up for the first time in WCW on pay-per-view. They defeated Vader and Ric Flair. And after this match, it was the main event. It went 18 minutes and 1 second. It was the main event. And after it, or before Hogan and Savage got to the ring, in the background by the entrance curtain, they showed a guy standing there, staring at Hogan and Savage. It was, obviously it was the Giant, a.k.a. the Big Show. It was the Giant staring at Hogan from the entranceway. And the camera got on the Giant. He was staring at Hogan. Nobody knew who the hell he was because he did not debut yet. Fans just saw him, and I'm sure they thought he was a big giant, freakishly big, and they thought, who the hell is that? And so one of the commentators, Bobby Heenan or Tony Schiavone or somebody might have said, who is that? Who's that back there? Well, it was a Giant staring at Hogan. And then later on, after Slamboree, they would start calling the Giant Andre's son. That's not true. That was just a stupid wrestling rumor. Big Show, a.k.a. the Giant, in WCW was never Andre's son. Andre the Giant did not have a son. He had a daughter, I believe, and I think Andre's daughter is still alive to this day. But that was just very idiotic and stupid as hell of WCW to start calling the Giant Andre's son. And that Andre's son is back to get revenge on Hulk Hogan. No, he wasn't back to get any revenge. He was the Giant. He was not the son of Andre. That was one of the dumbest ideas to do. WCW, that was so stupid to call him Andre's son. That was just asinine and idiotic and just pathetic and stupid. It made sense, but to call the Giant Andre's son, that he could not live up to Andre ever. Nobody could. So it was pointless to start calling him Andre's son. Just very stupid. So that was Slamboree 95, and they also had a WCW Hall of Fame induction. They put in Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes winning. I think Wahoo McDaniel winning the Hall of Fame. And Gordon Solie was hosting it. And Dusty Rhodes was talking, and then he put in Gordon Solie and started talking about Gordon Solie, saying he's the next to go in the WCW Hall of Fame right now. And then Gordon, Macho Man Randy Savage's father, Angelo Poffo, he went in the Hall of Fame at Slamboree 95. And Dusty was talking about Gordon Solie. They put Gordon Solie in the Hall of Fame that night. Legendary announcer from Florida Championship Wrestling from Florida, whatever they called it, Florida Championship Wrestling. He was a longtime announcer there, and then he went on to the NWA and WCW. So Gordon Solie got put in the WCW Hall of Fame, well deserved for him, because he was a legendary announcer. He was a great announcer, but my personal favorite is Jim Ross. He's more in my era. I grew up hearing Jim Ross in WCW. So that was great to see Dusty going to Hall of Fame in 95. And Terry Funk deserved it. Macho Man's father deserved it. Wahoo McDaniel deserved it. There might have been more guys put in, but I can't remember who else was put in. And Gordon Solie deserved it for damn sure. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Uncensored. Uncensored was before Slamboree. So I forgot that Uncensored 95 took place in March. Slamboree was in May. But I'll talk about Uncensored anyways. First match of Uncensored was a gimmick match, a wrestling match on an 18-wheeler truck. It was very stupid, and it was just awful to watch on a pay-per-view. It was awful to watch. They had a camera on a truck following the 18-wheeler. They had a camera crew side by side recording them fighting on the 18-wheeler in the back of the truck. It was very odd to think of that, to put on a match on a moving truck on a highway. I don't know who the hell came up with that idea, but it was very odd and very stupid, and it did not work and did not work well, and it did not go over. You had the fans in the arena, I'm sure, were pissed off and angry because they had to watch the match, the first match, on a big screen, and it was just really, really fucking stupid. So, it was the Blacktop Bully defeated Dustin Rhodes. And as I said, they were fighting on an 18-wheeler truck in the back of the truck, and there was hay all over the place, and it was stupid. That should have not even been on Uncensored. Should have not been anywhere near on pay-per-view. Ever. Never have a match on a moving truck. It's pointless and stupid as hell. But WCW did a lot of stupid gimmick matches and a lot of stupid things in 95. WWF did too. They had the goddamn cartoonish bullshit, cartoonish gimmicks running their company. Mostly. Okay, it was called King of the Road match, and nobody cared. It took place on a 18-wheeler flatbed truck, and nobody gave a fuck. Everybody watching it probably fell asleep. And I'm glad I did not see this pay-per-view live, because I would have fell asleep. Up next, Meng defeated Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a martial arts match. It was stupid. But good thing Meng went over, because he deserved to. Johnny B. Bad defeated and knocked out Arn Anderson in round 4 of a boxer versus wrestler match. I believe Johnny B. Bad was wearing boxing gloves and Arn Anderson was not. Again, another stupid gimmick match that should have not been on Uncensored 95. Whoever booked this show, it was awful. It was a bad, awful booking of a pay-per-view event. The only match that really made any sense on the entire Uncensored was Sting, Big Bubba Rogers, Harlem Heat, and the Nasty Boys. Nasty Boys defeated Harlem Heat in a Texas Tornado match. That made sense because the pay-per-view was called Uncensored. And then Sting and Bubba made sense because it wasn't some stupid, dumb gimmick match. Randy Savage defeated Avalanche by disqualification when Ric Flair, wearing women's clothing and a wig, attacked the Macho Man. And they would start off another feud. They feuded in the WWF in 92, and they started feuding again in 95, and they had really good matches. So Ric Flair, dressed as a woman, attacks Randy Savage. I think it's after the match. Big Bubba Rogers defeated Sting, and the Nasty Boys, as I said, defeated Harlem Heat. Another match that made sense to be on Uncensored was Hulk Hogan defeating Big Van Vader in a strap match. And after the match, Hulk Hogan, or maybe during the match, because there was no DQ, Hulk Hogan attacked Ric Flair, who interfered, and Hogan dragged Flair all around 4 corners of the ring. So Hogan retains the WCW Championship. If they were going to ever have Vader win it again and beat Hogan, they should have had Vader win it at Uncensored. But they did not, so who cares? That's 20 years ago, and if people are still upset that Vader did not beat Hogan, get over it. It doesn't really matter anymore. So that was WCW Uncensored. It was a bad pay-per-view event. It was not good. It was not good at all. Not blaming the talent, but a lot of the matches, how they were booked, and the gimmick matches was just awful. Uncensored was way worse, in my opinion, than Slamboree. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Great American Bash pay-per-view. This took place on June 18th from Dayton, Ohio. And a year later, Great American Bash 96 was epic. It was a great, it wasn't epic, but it was a really good pay-per-view event because you had the Outsiders show up and attack Bischoff. Kevin Nash jackknife powerbombed Bischoff off the stage through a table. That was awesome as hell. And you had other good matches. Rey Mysterio against Dean Malenko, and Benoit and Sullivan had a big brawl. They went in a bathroom and were brawling. So Bash 96 was great, much better than Bash 95. But I'm going to talk about Great American Bash 95 right now. And this will be the last event I talk about in this part 2 of the Year in Wrestling 95. This is the 4th pay-per-view I'm talking about. I got a lot more to talk about in probably a part 3 and part 4 of 95. So, Great American Bash kicked off with Alex Wright defeating Brian Pillman in 15 minutes, 24 seconds. They had a damn good match. Both guys were young And both guys could go and have a good match with just about anybody. So Alex Wright wins and defeats Brian Pillman there. Up next, Dave Sullivan. I don't know why he was still around. I don't know why he was still on WCW pay-per-views. He should have not been. He should have been released a long time ago. Dave Sullivan defeated Diamond Dallas Page in 43 seconds in an arm wrestling match. And then Dave Sullivan for beating DDP. Dave Sullivan earned a date with DDP's Diamond Doll. The Diamond Doll was his actual wife, Kimberly. And she was a really hot chick. In 95, in 96, 97, 98, Kimberly was hot as hell. So Dave Sullivan wins a date with the Diamond Doll and nobody cared. Up next, Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman by disqualification. Another match nobody cared about. Should have not been on Great American Bash 95. Harlem Heat defeated the team of Buckhouse Buck and Dick Slater. That was a okay tag match. I'm glad Harlem Heat went over because they should have. The Renegade, the WCW's ripoff of the Ultimate Warrior. The Renegade was a Ultimate Warrior ripoff. It obviously was. Everybody knew it. WCW's attempt to just, I guess, create their own Ultimate Warrior character. Well, it was not the Ultimate Warrior. That's another rumor. Another wrestling rumor that has been around for years that I've heard. The Renegade was not the real Ultimate Warrior. He never was. He was just some indie guy that WCW hired and gave him the Renegade gimmick. Warrior did not even work in wrestling in 95. He may have worked indies, but he did not even show up until he returned in 96 at WrestleMania 12. So the Renegade was a bad gimmick, and it was pathetic to try to copy the Ultimate Warrior character because the Renegade did not have the persona and the energy, and he didn't have the energy as the Ultimate Warrior. And he never would get that energy, and he would never even become a big star. He was only around a couple months, and then he dropped the Renegade gimmick, and they were just calling him Renegade. And he was around in 98 still, and he was on Nitro probably jobbing to Goldberg in a minute. So after this Renegade gimmick, he did nothing. No disrespect to the guy. I know he killed himself. That's tragic. I'm just saying his gimmick went nowhere. And WCW, after the Renegade gimmick failed, they only used him for World War III matches and for Nitros and Thunders to job to top guys. And he jobbed to Goldberg probably more than once, did the Renegade. So I'm no disrespect to the Renegade because I know he killed himself, but he was not a great character, and that's not really his fault. I'm sure WCW and Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came up with the Renegade gimmick to just copy the Warrior because they wanted the Warrior in WCW, and they would finally get him in 98, which was a mess. Ultimate Warrior's run in WCW was a fucking mess. So, Renegade wins a TV title. Big deal. I didn't care. World Tag Team titles on the line. The Nasty Boys defeated Lord Steven Regal and Bobby Eaton in 15 minutes to retain the tag titles. I think maybe they won the tag titles. I don't remember. Sting defeated Meng in the finals of the U.S. title tournament to win the United States Championship. Sting versus Meng, they had a great match and they worked pretty damn well together. Main event of Great American Bash 95 was a very good match between two legends, two absolute pros that could have great matches with anybody. Ric Flair defeated Macho Man Randy Savage, and that was a great match. I think Hulk Hogan was still WCW champion, heavyweight champ. I don't know why he wasn't on the Great American Bash 95, but he was not. Maybe he was off shooting a movie or something. I don't know. But Hulk Hogan was not on the show and the title was not defended. Must have been shooting a movie for TV or something. I don't know. The next pay-per-view for WCW. So I just talked about Great American Bash. I talked about Slamboree and Uncensored. The next pay-per-view I will talk about on my next video, part 3 of the Year in Wrestling 95. I'll talk about Bash at the Beach, Fall Brawl, and I'll talk about King of the Ring 95 and In Your House. I believe In Your House Part 2. There was an In Your House 2. In Your House 2 happened July 23rd, 95. I saw that event live on pay-per-view at a friend's house. And it was pretty awesome when Shawn Michaels won the IC title. I was a big Shawn Michaels fan starting in 95. Right here I want to show you, I don't know, I'm sure you can't read it, but there's a date. June 2nd, 95, WWF. I went to a WWF live event. My first WWF live event in many years. I went to one when I was like 5 years old in 89. I don't remember much of it because I was 5 years old. I went to another WWF house show live event in 89. I do remember that a little bit. Hulk Hogan defeated Earthquake in the main event. This was my first WWF show since 89. This was 95, June 2nd, 95. It's called World Tour to D-Force. And it was from the WWF. And when I got there, the arena was not packed. It was not full. Business was really down in 95 for the WWF. When the show started, the arena was probably 50% full. 50 or 60% full. Maybe even 40% full. There was probably only maybe 2,000 people there. I don't know. Or 1,000 people, maybe 900. The arena was not that full, and the arena had like 10,000 seats. But it was a pretty damn good show. I was standing front row most of the show. I was just standing there up against the guardrail so I could watch up close. No security guards told me to leave and go back to my seat, but I did have pretty damn good seats. I had floor seats, row 16, so pretty damn close. And the ticket only cost $16, and I got floor seats. This was 20 years ago, so ticket prices, I guess, were way cheaper because I don't think you can get a $16 ticket anymore. You can't get a $16 ticket and get on the floor close to the ring. So it was great being there. I still remember a lot of the matches that took place. It's just burnt in my brain, memory. It's in my memory forever. Going to this house show in 95, I saw Psycho Sid. He came up close to the guardrail where I was standing, and he looked like a freaking giant. The guy was scary. The guy was a monster. He looked 7 foot tall. Because he was right in front of me, and I was only like 12 years old. I was only 11 years old at the time. So he looked like a giant to me. And he was a giant. He was jacked, and he was a true monster. Bam Bam Bigelow, I saw up close. He was a monster and a beast. Bam Bam took on Psycho Sid. They had a good match. I think Triple H was in action, but I don't remember against who. May have been Triple H against Henry Godwinn. I don't remember. But I do remember the main event of the show. Of this show right here. There's a ticket. This is the real ticket from 95 June. WWF House Show. The main event was Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels in a ladder match. No. It was Razor Ramon against Jeff Jarrett for the IC title, because they wouldn't have a ladder match without a title hanging from the arena. So you had the Intercontinental title on the line, hanging above the ring. And it was Jeff Jarrett, Intercontinental Champion at the time in June. He would lose it in July. But he was still the champion in June. And Razor Ramon was the challenger. And they put on a great ladder match. It was really entertaining. And I'm glad I went to this house show in 95. Great memories being there. And I just spilled my water. Oh well, who gives a damn? I can get more water anytime. So that's the end of, after my water spills on the floor. What a way to end my video, right? Whatever. I bumped the cup and it flips over. Who cares? Part 2. This was part 2 of the Year in Wrestling 1995. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at TNA WWE Guy. I'm there all the time. Live tweeting Raw, NXT, SmackDown, TNA, Ring of Honor sometimes, TNA pay-per-views, ROH pay-per-views, WWE special events. I'm always on Twitter live tweeting what is going on. I'm also at NXT WWE Guy, but my main account is TNA WWE Guy on Twitter. If you follow me, you know I'm always on there during live wrestling shows. I'll be there Saturday night, UFC 190. I'm looking forward to it because you have Ronda Rousey back fighting, defending her title. It's going to be awesome to watch Rousey fight again. I love watching her fight. She's entertaining as hell. Her fights are entertaining as hell. You don't know who the hell's going to win. Watching a Ronda Rousey fight, you don't know if it's going to end in 10 seconds or maybe in 3 nights or 2 nights. Whenever it's Saturday night, tonight's Thursday. So, what the hell was I saying? Yeah, Saturday night, UFC 190. You don't know what the hell's going to happen in the Ronda Rousey fight. Could last 3 rounds. It could last 30 seconds. You just don't know. I have to see UFC 190, and I'm going to see it for sure. Live on pay-per-view. I'm getting the fight because Ronda Rousey is on the fight, and I'm a fan of hers. And I love watching her fights. And I hope she wins and retains the title. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video, part 2 of the Year in Wrestling 1995. Bye for now, everybody.